In this tutorial, I try and answer a question someone posed at me. I hope I did a good enough job. The result is something like this. I'm not too sure if I answered the question successfully. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. I got an interesting question from BVG 2011 from the camera follow path, object follow path, camera follow object tutorial. And they sent me an example. This is the example sent. And in this example, you can see the object rotating around an empty, while the camera is rotating around the empty over here, and the object is following the camera. And they want to recreate both methods, so to speak. And yeah, it's quite tricky, but we're going to give it a go. In short, they say, what I'm looking for are ways to produce the exact same render, but this time by animating both camera and horizon and leaving the box at rest. Okay, well, let's try and give it a go. We're going to open up Blender. I'm going to press N, turn on my key recording, numpad 7, and I'm just going to set this up for all the stuff I need to probably do. Chuck this over here, and we need to lift this up over here. Press T to hide it there, and we need one more tab open. Oh, that's not it. There we go. And we're going to make this our graph editor. Alright, so the first thing we need to do while we're in top orthographic view over here, we're going to press Shift A, empty, circle, S3, click, rotate on the x-axis 90 degrees. Rename this camera and horizon rig, enter, and I'm going to select the camera, shift, select the camera and horizon rig, control P to parent the camera to the camera and horizon rig. And then I'm going to press shift A, mesh, plane, S5, and I'm probably going to do S5 again. And press GZ -1. There we go. So that's going to be the ground. And you can decide how thick you want your ground to be. And then we're going to press Shift A. And the only thing that will kind of give this away is the shadows. So perhaps we should just do this in material viewport, because the shadows will give the position away and for the effect we're going for. So we'll just use the material viewport for now. And then we're going to press Shift A, mesh, plane, and I am going to press numpad 7 to be in top orthographic view, G, just move it to the back somewhere here, numpad 1, and I want to put this in the center line, somewhere like that. Then go to the object constraint properties, add a constraint which is track to the camera, and then I'm just going to press S, and I'm going to scale it up and make it go slightly over. Well, let's press S, X, and scale it up slightly over beyond the limits. So you want to press SXX twice to only scale on the x-axis, and you want it beyond the limits in case there's any drag. Then you're going to press SYY, and you want to do the same, yeah, SYY, SYY, something like that should be fine. And that's going to be our horizon. And for interest's sake, we're just going to make the horizon a different color. Make it green. And we make the ground random color, just so you can tell them apart. In fact, let's make the ground green, and we make the horizon blue. And we're going to rename this horizon, and we're going to, with the horizon selected, we're going to shift select the camera and horizon rig and press Control P. object. And there you have it. So now we can start to animate the first method. Well, it's quite simple. All we need to do is select the camera and horizon rig, press I, rotation. Change to 3 seconds, which is about 60 frames. Press rotate on the Z axis 360 degrees and press I, rotation. Once you've done that, you can go to your graph editor, Z Julia rotation, right click, and you probably want to choose linear. By choosing linear, when you press play, you can't even tell that it's moving. Or you probably can. Let's press play. Cool. So it's still somewhat visible, but it's consistent in its speed. So some of the shade is still showing. Solid view mode. Let's see if it's easy to tell now. Very hard to tell that it's moving. Okay, that's good. And then let's say at frame 60, we decide we want to just rotate the box. So now we're going to press I, rotation, go to frame 120, press I, rotation, and obviously we've rotated this again just on the Z axis. Right click, linear. Oh, Control Z. Let's delete this quickly and do that over. Seems like I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. Delete keyframes. Delete keyframes. Let's go back to 60. And press I, rotation. Go to frame 120. Press rotate on the Z axis 360 degrees and press I, rotation. Right click, linear. Now when we go back to keyframe 1, if only we could just look at the area that matters. In fact, let's try and do that. Deselect everything, press spacebar. Okay, the only thing is that it's rotating in the opposite direction. So one quick and lazy solution around this is just to select this point and bring it down to -360, I guess. Hold in Shift. There we go. And now we just need to make sure it's 360, which seems to be almost there. Should have just typed this out to begin with. Anyways, let's see how this looks. See, there we go. That's perfect. And I'm quite happy with that result. So hopefully that's kind of what you're asking for. Let's double check. I forgot to mention that the box is supposed to follow path. This makes it much different. And I also want it to work in a scenario where the box is not circling the horizon, but in a slight angled with the horizon. Okay, well, let me try and figure out what that means. So the first, I'm sure I figured out, I did the first scenario correct, where the object is rotating around this object, but you can't tell. So that part seems to be done. But now you want the object to rotate around some sort of path. Okay, so I'm just gonna go over here, press Shift A, and if you wanted to rotate around a circle as well, you can make your own path, and I know you know how to do that. So I'm just going to use a circle, rotate on the x-axis 90 degrees, press S to scale this out. And what we could do, we could actually press tab, well, select this object and let's move it just to the side here. But now it won't have that cool effect anymore. So we're going to have to go to frame 121. And I'm just going to move this to the side. And I'm going to select the cube, shift, select this, which is Control P, object, and we're going to call this cube rig. And now we're going to select the cube rig at frame 120. I'm going to press I, rotation, and we're going to go 3 seconds. That's 20, 40, 60. So we're going to be on frame 180. And we're going to press rotate on the Z axis 360 degrees and press I, rotation. So if we go back to the beginning and we press play, it's rotating perfectly smoothly. The last one, it's not going to rotate as smoothly because it's going to go slow and then fast and then slow at the end, which is fine. I mean, I showed you how to make it equal speed, making it linear. Let me just double check to see if I answered the question. I forgot to mention that the box is supposed to follow a path. So, okay, we've done that using a circle. This makes it much different. And also I want it to work in a scenario where the box is not circling the horizon, but in a slight angle with the horizon. So you don't want the box to circle where the box is not circling horizontally, but at a slight angle. Well, I mean, that's fairly easy. You just set the whichever angle you want this to rotate around. You just you can rotate it on the x-axis, the z-axis, the y-axis, and you just keyframe it in. And the same applies for everything else. If you want to make it rotate around any specific axis, I'm not too sure how else to answer that one. Okay, you sent me the link here. I hope the video is clear. What I'm actually looking for is some standardized way to convert a render of an animation object filmed by a Steadicam to a render that looks exactly the same, but now with the camera animated and the object remaining steady. Okay, I've done that. With the circling object, it is not that complex. The circling object is not that complex, apparently. But how to do it with any kind of animation? Intuitively, it seems there must be some kind of method to do it. There might be. If you gave me another example, I'm just working off the example with the sphere. If I had another example, I'd probably go down that route as well. But I think this is more or less what you're looking for. I'm not too sure. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Got any more questions? I'll do my best to try and answer them. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.